Okay, we already did those three. Next. Da, da, da. Excellent. Okay. Yeah.
God, every word you say is just putting me on edge.
Oh, man. It's okay. Everything's gonna be fine. Totally. So I'm trying to remember. You were
Dead.
conscious. You were, yes, you're very dead. But jumping back a little before that, you were conscious because you got a very quiet healing word. So you were
Yeah.
able to see the last few moments of your life, kind of through this like hazy, blurred vision as you're being carried away by this thing. And then you heard the familiar sound of Eldritch blasts, despite your many warnings not to do anything, as well as the
That was all
things.
meta, technically,
It was all meta, uh, but yeah,
but Trace would have been thinking that in her head, anyways.
like
Just
please, for once,
yeah.
please don't fuck
Please,
this up.
nobody do anything. For the love of God, one time, just maintain some element of chill.
Well, this party knows nothing of chill. And yeah, so as each one of these Eldritch blasts slams into the wargfolk that's got you kind of cradled into his arm, you feel this like cold, chalky substance kind of sprinkle off of each one of the hits and onto you. And almost simultaneously, you feel the cold, sharp edge of his adamantine longsword drag along your neck, and then into it, and then through it. And you don't really feel anything. Not the pain from the blade, not the warmth from the blood, or the cold from the air, or the rocking of this mammoth underneath you. All you really feel is gravity. And it seems to be getting heavier and heavier and heavier. And at first you kind of slump in the Thane's arms, and then you hear these muffled pops, like fireworks in the distance. And then you feel that your weight starts to drag the Thane down with you, and you roll off the side of the mammoth, and the sky and the earth start to tumble around you for a moment. And just as you expect to feel the thud of the earth, you're overwhelmed with this sickening, queasy feeling, uh, like somebody's turned off the gravity, like the entire world is rolling itself around you until up is down and down is up, and you start to fall into the sky. And give me a wisdom save.
Oh man, missing Greg Egg already.
Woo! There's a bit of a pause, and you feel everything that you've known kind of gently stripped away from you, especially the earlier events. You almost feel this forlornness as your last memories of Gabber and of Aiden are drained from you. Uh, and
Can I do anything?
you fight it as hard as you can, and you try to cling to some of these memories, and
Ah,
you're.
hold on,
Yes.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Philo just, wanted to give you all a smooch and a hug. I am the I am the messenger.
Okay.
Oh, tell him thank you.
I will. Okay, continue. Sorry for interrupting. Love you.
You fight, and you try to cling onto as many of these memories and these pieces of yourself that you can. And you snatch bits and pieces. You snatch a face. There's a face, and you know it means something to you. But you don't remember a name. You don't remember why it's important to you. You just know that it's somebody dear to you and somebody that you want to see again. You remember another face, a prettier face, but again, she doesn't really mean much to you. You just know that you know this face. And as you cling to as many of these memories as you can, the only thing that you really remember with perfect clarity is the last few minutes. You remember being thrown over the cliffside of your own volition. You remember being inspected. You remember turning as soon as the gig was up and being dragged away. And you remember Lodigan firing his bolts and the Thane cutting you across the neck. And then this. And when your vision kind of comes to, you look around, the entire world starts to dim around you until it's just black. And the sky is this soulless, cloudy, empty gray. But on the horizon to your south, you see this faint white light over the horizon, almost like a moonrise over the mountains. And there's this momentary feeling of insignificance. Like all of those memories you forgot, all of your friends, your foes, your family, for a brief moment, none of it matters. The only thing that matters right now is the water. And you don't know what the water is. You just know that you need to find the water. The water is right. The water matters. The water is your ticket to something. You don't know what, but you need it, and it calls to you. And you feel like maybe that light is the water. And you have some agency. You see that you have a form. It is your true form. You appear to be wearing what you were wearing. You're equipped with what you were equipped, which means no shield, no watcher. Your head is securely where it belongs. Your injuries don't appear to be there anymore. But as you look around, you see the battlefield exactly as you saw it, kind of locked in time. The mammoth is halfway over. The Thane is falling through the air towards the ground right beside you. And though you can move and look and see everything in normal speed, everything around you seems to just be locked in place.
Just reach up to my throat, and touch it.
Yeah, you feel solidness. You feel skin where you expect to find skin. You don't feel any blood. You bring your hand down and it's clean. Everything appears to be normal.
Do I see myself there too?
You do not.
Out of body experience? No.
It is very much like an out-of-body experience, but you don't see your body. With that said, however, this overwhelming sense of insignificance and this drawing compulsion to look for water, it comes with this very real sense that this is it. You are dead. You are gone. You have moved on to something else. You are sharply and keenly aware that this is some sort of afterlife.
I walk over to Lodigan for a second. I just try to reach my hand out. I assume it just passes right through.
You reach your hand through, and it touches, and you feel physical contact, but it seems to just be frozen in place. No matter how hard you push, how hard you touch or twist, nothing moves. It's like you're interacting with a statue.
Yeah, I get up and I start walking towards the south. Just kind of in a daze.
As you start heading south, give me a perception check. After about 200, maybe 300 feet, you hear this grunt and a voice, gruff, deep male voice. It's calling, hello, you're moving. Who is that? Coming from behind you. And you turn and look, and you see this grizzled warg folk that appears to be the Thane that was just with you a few moments ago. And he is kind of walking nervously, hand on his hilt, towards you, shield drawn.
How much do, or how aware am I of who I am?
You know your name. You know that you were a changeling. You know your occupation. You don't really remember exactly why you're here or what this battle was, but you remember that there was a battle. You remember that he was a part of it. You know for sure he was the one that killed you.
What's my occupation?
Um, you
Merc?
are, yeah, you're essentially an assassin for hire. As best as I know.
Yeah, I guess that's the best fit for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just kind of looked down at my hand for a second, and then to where my weapon should be, finding nothing, and just keep walking.
Yeah, you do find, you no longer have Watcher, but I believe you have your daggers, correct?
Yeah, I've got my daggers and stuff, but, you know,
Yeah, it's
my main...
it's not quite the same. As you continue walking, you hear the jingling of heavy plate armor as he runs after you, and eventually he kind of catches up and puts a big firm hand on your shoulder, spins you around. I guess that makes sense. Your neck looks good.
Can I shapeshift my, like, forearm into a blade and press it up against his neck?
You try very desperately to shapeshift anything. At first, you go for a blade and you feel that it's not connecting, and then you go for just anything, a change of color, longer fingernails, and none of it connects. You appear to be trapped in your actual form. So, this is it. This is the ethereal, the beyond. I didn't think it would go like this.
I shouldn't be here.
Nobody ever wants to be here, but we all end up there eventually. Who do you worship?
No one.
So you don't know where you're going then?
I have an idea.
He nods towards the mountains to the south. I suppose we'd better get going then.
Shouldn't keep them waiting.
As he kind of starts to go with you down to the south, you see he keeps glancing eastward. And you do see frozen on the horizon this massive dragon mid-flight, kind of heading towards the scene of the battle. And give me an insight check.
21.
You get a read from him that he is being very stoic about all of this. He seems almost kind of secure and relaxed, like he knows what's going on, like he's ready for this. But each time he looks back at that dragon, there's this tiny glimmer of wistfulness, like like maybe that's one of his faces that he's held on to. But as it gets farther and farther back, he eventually stops looking over his shoulder and focuses on the light to the south below as it gets brighter and brighter. And as you walk, you both start to hear it. The sound of rushing water. It starts very quietly, like it's kind of being poured over the horizon with the light. But then it gets louder and louder until it's like you're standing right next to it, even though you know the source is distant. There's this feeling of comfort, of warmth, of acceptance, like everything's going to be okay, that this isn't the end, that this is the beginning of something better, something easier at least. The two of you walk for minutes and then hours, but your feet never tire, your tongue never dries, your back never aches. You pass through this shadowy echo of snowy grasslands and then grassy plains, through fields of wheat and corn, and all the while, the world feels fresh and new. You see bugs that you could swear you've never seen before, birds that, even in this colorless, dim lighting, look fascinating and marvelous and new. And rather than bored or tired, you feel sort of energized and alive and eager to keep going, like this water is making everything okay, that it's going to be the answer to all of this. And then, as you reach the edge of a grassy cliff, you both see it. There's this big, open sea of white light. And you can see that it is churning and flowing like rapids from the east to the west. It is probably about 500-600 feet down below you. And as you look at it, it's bright, like you're staring straight into the sun, but your eyes don't wince or burn. It feels comfortable. It feels warm. This is home. This is your new life. You feel like you're supposed to do something. And as he approaches behind you, you see this sense of reverence and awe. He lets go of his shield, kind of tosses it to the side, unbuckles his scabbard, drops it to the grass. It's real. The sticks, it's real, and we've made it. We must go. It calls. And he starts to step over towards the cliff and dives in.
Uh, I I take a step back and do I remember any names?
You remember his name. You remember Lodigan and Philo, Covey, Mulek. Rex.
I kind of look back towards the mountains for a minute. And I step forward and just touch my hand to the river.
As soon as you touch the water, you feel it just envelop itself around you, and there's this overwhelming sense of comfort and warmth and home. Like you've jumped into a pile of warm towels, and you're surrounded by a million kittens and puppies and whatever it is that you are into. And as the water starts to tug you westward, your eyes start to feel heavy. There are only vague visions as the water starts to carry you out towards the sea. But at one point, you feel a bump at your side, and you can see that kind of just relaxing on his back as the river carries him is Dagron. And he looks at you and says, "Sorry about and he drags his finger across his neck. I was just trying to get out alive. I didn't feel like dying there. You tried to kill us. What was that all about anyway?"
I don't remember.
You don't remember it? It just happened. What do you mean you don't remember?
I don't remember anything.
Huh. Weird. I remember everything. I think. I'm Dagran Moonfall. I work for Chalktongue. Chalktongue works for Osav. I remember Vixona. I won't see her again. Well, they say that when you fall honorably in battle, you go to the halls of valor, where the skalds sing like angels, and the mead tastes like angels, and the women fuck like angels. I guess we'll find out.
One of us will. Just lay on my back and look up at the whatever kind of sky there is here.
Yeah. As you do, you see more stars than normal. But more importantly, you see the moon. And the moon is, it's full, and it's glowing brightly. And you know for sure that you're several days, at least, 10, 15 days away from the next full moon. And as you watch the moon, give me an insight check. Yeah, as you watch the moon, there's this sense, this feeling, and it's ridiculous and it doesn't make any sense. But you know beyond any shadow of any doubt that the moon is watching you back. And your vision starts to draw away, and you lapse out again. And it begins to sort of just flit in and out. Occasionally, you'll open your eyes and you'll see the land to your north towering tall as it kind of soars past you. To your south, you see the billowing clouds of two volcanoes drift by. And then, finally, you see the mouth of the open sea as you breach through the strait. And after that, you are carried beneath the surface, and there's nothing but white all around you. And it feels like you're getting close. You feel your momentum shift as it starts to draw you back to the east under the islands. And then something goes wrong. It's difficult to say exactly what. All you know is that Dagron is yanked away from you, and you hear it, and you sense it, and you feel it. You feel his metal armor shifting quickly. You hear a grunt as he is kind of just drawn away from your side. And you look around, and you could only see bright white before, but now, even though you're still seeing the same bright white, you know that he's gone, and you feel alone. And then there's this sharp, sudden, bludgeoning pain to the back of your neck, and you awaken somewhere dark. It's pitch black, it's hot, it's wet, it's hard, and it's rocky. And give me a perception check. The very first thing that you notice is that you no longer feel safe. You no longer feel like this is right. You feel like something has just gone very, very wrong. It's eerily quiet. But in the distance, after a few seconds, you hear the unmistakable sound of a woman screaming, and it carries through the air around you like it's echoing off of a million stony walls. It sounds very much like you're in some sort of cavern, and the screaming continues once and then twice and then a third time, but it's cut short. And as it's stopped, you hear that it's choked out by the sound of gurgling, like someone choking on something. And when that finally dims down, you hear this guttural, groaning, rumbling sound, like an alligator or a tiger, but impossibly large. You feel it in your chest as it just echoes off of these walls. And then it goes quiet, and a short distance away, you hear heavy breathing, very close to you, maybe 5-10 feet. Too small to be whatever that creature was, but something else is alive and breathing very close to you.
Uh, I don't got a lot on me, so I'll reach for one of my daggers. I'll just pull it up very slowly, um, and see if I can spot this thing. Um, can I see like any of the terrain around me? Like it gets hot and wet and dark. But
Do you have dark vision of any kind?
I have devil sight.
You have devil sight. Excellent.
Yeah,
Cool.
assuming that I still retain that here.
Right. You have devil sight through Watcher. Distance. Let me go check his thing real quick.
Well, like I have devil sight through my warlock thing, but all my warlock powers are
Through him, right?
from him, at least.
Do you happen to
Flavor-wise,
know?
so.
Do you happen to know off the top of your head if there's a ruling about whether you have to be like near your weapon to maintain your powers, or is that?
I mean, that's just kind of like my flavor thing for it.
Okay.
But
let me.
because like hex blades, they get their powers from their sentient weapons, right? So
Right. Let me go check real quick. All right. It takes a moment, but as your eyes kind of blink open and you start to look around, there is this subtle trace of the power that you once knew. Like there's still a bond, a connection, and it seems to be coming from above you, far, far above you. And as you look around, you see the source of the breathing first. You see that with his back against a rather large, wet boulder is Thane. He has a dagger in his hand. He has no shield, no sword. And as he sees you kind of reach for your own dagger, he looks at you, and he seems to be able to see you. And he holds his other finger to his lips to essentially tell you to stay quiet. And then he points kind of towards your east. And as you take a look around, you're able to see that you're in a very large, open canyon of some sort. And this canyon has what could be described as a lake in the middle of it, but it doesn't look natural. It doesn't look right. It looks like you can see enough to surmise what's going on here. This looks like a river that has been artificially dammed. There is an opening in the cavern to your south that has been filled with boulders, and some of the water is able to filter through, but it's too dense for anything to pass through other than a small amount of water. And the overflowing water has kind of spilled over into this reservoir, this lake. And all around this lake, you see, first of all, bodies. Humans, elves, tabaxi, wargfolk, other races that you've seen here on the islands, but primarily those. And they look pallid and sick. Some are missing body parts. And they seem to be just kind of floating unconscious in the water. But you also see these... you've seen myconid creatures before, and you recognize a few of them. and you've seen ghouls before, and you recognize those. But there are also these unusual uh, halfway abominations. They almost look like skeletons that have had this mold grow around them and through them, uh, forming almost like a skeletal mushroom zombie of some sort. And they appear to, all three of those, the ghouls, the myconids, and the mushroom skeletal things, appear to be kind of wading through this water, grabbing bodies, checking their eyes, their face, their bodies, and then slowly dragging them to the shore. You also see what you believe is the source of the scream farther out. On the opposite side of this reservoir, there is this large creature. It appears to move like an ooze or like something amorphous. It's got these 6 spindly legs that it kind of pulls into itself and then extends in a different direction, almost like a snail's eye, and pulls itself around across the surface of the water. And every now and then, you'll see one of these bodies look over at this creature and startle awake, scream, and then it'll eject these tentacles and yank the body into itself. And then you hear the gurgling noise, and then nothing, and then the low groan. You can see the ghouls and the myconids are taking these bodies to the shore and throwing them over their shoulders, and they seem to all be carrying them to this tunnel to the north. With limited devil sight, you can also see there is one tunnel to the south. Both of these tunnels appear to be natural formations. None of them look manufactured. They appear to be just natural patterns in the cavern. And then there is a very large path to the west where the river flows in. That's the way that you came.
Well, got my hand over my mouth to stop from screaming, and I just slowly back up and kind of try and back over to Thane. Actually, can I insight check Thane too?
Sure. Is there anything specific you're looking for, or just trying to get a general read on
I
it?
just want to make sure that he's not going to like stab me in the back again.
Sure, sure. Uh, Two things are very, very clear to you. The first is that something here is happening that is very bad and much bigger than whatever it is that the two of you were just doing. He is not the slightest bit interested in assassinating you or hurting you or harming you. And in fact, he seems extremely relieved to have you nearby. He maintains his bravado well, but he is terrified, and he's glad to have a mortal, if you can call yourselves that at this point, at his side for whatever this is.
Is there a difference between us and the ghouls physically? Like,
Dramatically.
are we like ghostly or whatever?
So in this environment, you are colorless. You're pallid. You get the feeling that you are some sort of spirit, but you look
I mean, that's
healthy.
for me.
Well, yeah, that's kind of normal for you. But you feel healthy, whereas these ghouls often have rotting flesh or exposed bones. Some of them are armored or carrying weapons of some sort, like you are, but they appear more tangible. They interact with the environment in a way that is more. They kick rocks around, and when you move through the water, there's not any sort of an effect. With that said, however, the same is true of the bodies floating in the water that are being absorbed and eaten by this monster. So you're certain that there is some degree of interaction that is possible between the two of you. However, you are pretty sure that you are not a ghoul. As
Okay.
you are looking at Thane too, or that at the Thane, he is his eyes keep jumping back to the tunnel to the south. He wants to try to get away from this, and you think that is his current plan, is to sneak his way south and just run and see where that goes. He hasn't said any of this, but you have very good insight.
Yeah, I don't remember shit, so I'm gonna follow along with him. Um, try and go south. Do my best to kind of keep him quiet, like assist with his heavy armor as best I can.
Yeah, you actually, as soon as he kind of wades out of the water onto the shore, there's a clink. And he immediately realizes that stealth is going to be difficult for him. He turns around and he kind of motions to the strap at the back of his full plate. Like he wants you to help him quietly take his plate off.
Yeah, I'll give him a hand.
All right.
If we can. Mm, yeah, I'll actually take my cloak of Elvenkind off and put it around him and start undoing it. Kind of like Harry Potter cloak of invisibility, to hide under it and help undo it.
Okay. So you will have to remain attuned to it, and you have to like be wearing it to get the effects. But it is large enough that you can kind of conceal him under it too. It is certainly enough to help him out with that. And in addition to that, he motions over towards your northeast a little bit. There's a spot that is in this reservoir, in this lake, but is behind a rock and a little bit out of view. And he kind of guides you over to it and fully submerges himself under the water before he starts taking the water or his armor off.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that.
All right, let's see. You guys have a lot going for you here, so this is going to be advantage for help, and then plus, we'll call it a +4.
If it also, to make things faster, I'm not even gonna like bother unstrapping things. I'm just cutting it off.
Okay, excellent.
If I can do that quietly.
Yeah. All right, let's see how this goes. Yeah, actually, he is able to hold his breath for a surprisingly long amount of time. And you manage to cut all of the major straps of his chest plate, and then he emerges, takes a quiet breath, and then goes back under, and he starts working on his wrists while you start cutting at his ankles. And in a rather short amount of time, only about maybe 6-7 minutes, you manage to get all of his heavy armor off, and nobody seems to have noticed you. There's a moment when this creature kind of drifts to a new spot, but it appears to be on the opposite side of the lake, and it doesn't seem to notice you. And then he steps out and starts making his way towards the tunnel to the south with you. And at this point, go ahead and give me your stealth check as well. So you start to push through this tunnel to the south. And you're able to follow it for probably a good 4 or 5 minutes. Very quietly. You don't attract any attention. Nothing seems to notice that you're missing. But give me a perception check. You notice from ahead of you this low kind of croaking noise, almost like a frog, but very large. And the Thane, Dagron, seems to notice it as well. He stops for a moment. He holds his dagger at the ready, but he looks back over his shoulder and kind of shrugs and starts to slowly creep forward.
Is this just like a natural tunnel? Like there's no other details or things you could hide in?
It does appear to be just a natural tunnel. There are occasional crevices that you could hide in them, but they don't really lead anywhere. It's just, spots. There are plenty of crags that you could potentially hide in. But they don't appear to be through paths.
Yeah, I find the nearest one and I just hide in there. Curl up, knees to chest, and
All right. Let's see. You watch as the Thane kind of moves forward cautiously. He looks back. He's aware of your position and gives you a nod, and kind of peeks his head around the corner. And kind of pushes his way forward. And after 2, 3, maybe 4 minutes, it's hard to say, you hear this massive bellowing roar coming from the direction that he went, and then heavy, fast, frantic footsteps as he presumably starts running back in your direction. And when that roar happens, you hear the sudden chatter and groaning of myconids and ghouls from the path where you just came from.
um, yeah, I just push myself as far into that crevice as I can, and I cover myself in the cloak. Just sit there and cry.
You hear heavy breathing, and the footsteps approach, and you see he comes around the bend, and as he comes around, you see this massive green hand, uh, easily, the palm is the size of the entire Thane, and he's tall. He's at least 7 feet tall. Reach through and try to grab at him, but this passageway is just too narrow for the hand to fit through. He shoves a couple of fingers in and tries to pin him against the wall. Manages to kind of catch him by the leg, but he wrestles free. He looks around for a moment and sees you and stops for a second. Notices the sound of footsteps approaching from the direction you just came. And let's see. He looks at you and gives you this tearful nod and holds his dagger tight, motions for you to stay hidden, and starts walking back towards the sound of the myconids and the ghouls.
Uh, does this trigger anything for Trace?
Give me give me a charisma save.
Nope. You know what? I'm going to spend my inspiration on this.
All right.
Fuck me.
Check something real quick. As he starts to walk away, there is a momentary flash, and for a moment, he feels a lot like you, and you keep seeing visions of that face over and over again. And there's this feeling that that face was left behind and that that wasn't the right choice.
Yeah, I reach up and I try and grab his wrist.
He looks back to you sharply and says, "What are you doing? We don't have to. You can live."
I take off the cloak. I put it on him. And kind of shove past him, kind of pushing him back into the crevice, and I bolt, going south towards the weird frog creature.
All right. Give me athletics. Or whatever. Yeah, athletics to shove.
Do I get any bonuses for being a ghost?
Definitely not. Yeah, you try to shove him and distance yourself a little bit, but he is right behind you, and he reaches down, picks his dagger back up, and says, "All right, rock in a hard place, I guess." And he follows right behind you towards this green hand that is still clawing at the wall. And you get there, and the hand is still grasping around, trying to feel for anything. It is blocking the passage. There's no way you're getting through unless you force that hand back somehow.
Yeah, I take the dagger, trembling, and I just stab into it.
All right, give me an attack roll, and it doesn't see you, so advantage. At the same time, he does his best with his dagger, so let's see. Uh, this hand starts to reel back. You hear this giant voice kind of screeching in pain. And as soon as you do, Dagron looks over to you, and you see this fire in his eyes. And he says, "Now again," and make another attack. With advantage.
Can I do a... Is this just regular attack?
Yeah, just a regular attack, no booming blade.
Okay.
Yeah, this hand reels back, and there's a momentary opening where you can fit through if you want to run.
Yeah, I bolt. I don't even look to see what this thing is. I try and slip past it and just hit as fast as I can.
You slip through this opening, and you find yourself in another sort of open cavern where there is more water, potentially spill over from the dam out there. And even without looking at this thing, just out of the corner of your eye, you see this massive green shape with several tentacles and a couple of uh, gnarled, large, meaty green hands. And at the top of this just pile of green flesh, there's this stalk with three large yellow eyes that seem to glow in the darkness. And there is a mouth that is filled with teeth that seems to almost bisect this thing like an avocado or a pear that's been cut down the across the side. And as soon as you run past, several of these tentacles lash after you. And Does a 15 hit currently?
No, doesn't.
Woohoo!
Get fucked. That hits.
All right. For the purposes of
What am
this,
I at?
yeah,
Yeah.
let's. You are effectively at half of your maximum health right now, minus the
Okay.
20 that you just took.
Round it down.
Yes. One of these tentacles wraps itself around you. You are grappled and restrained, and it pulls you close and attempts to bite you. 22
That
hits for 16 piercing.
Oh, balls. I should have uncanny the first one. Oh well. But yeah, I'll uncanny that. And just kick a boot into its lower jaw and try and just kind of pry its mouth open a little.
All right. You actually you pry it open a bit, and as it bites down, you feel yourself slide into this gullet across this disgusting boil-covered tongue. And as you sort of get swallowed into the darkness inside of this thing, you hear a shout from Dagron behind you, and you don't understand the language. You suspect maybe it is a command word or something magical. But as you do, you feel this cold, chalky skin kind of wrap itself over your skin.
Cool.
And that makes it your turn. What would you like to do?
God, I don't know how useful my ghost equipment is.
For what it's worth, you saw blood when you stabbed a couple times, and it certainly seemed to be in pain.
Yeah, like, weapons aren't the problem. It's more like... you know what? Fuck it. I, like, flail around, and I take a vial of torpor, and I just pour it in.
All right, first give me a sleight of hand to try to not get yourself with this. It's a very cramped situation in here.
I mean, I have to ingest it. That's the thing.
Oh, is it
So I'm
ingested
fine
poison?
if I... Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
ingested. So it's like the perfect opportunity.
Excellent. Cool. Do you know what the save is on that?
I don't off the top of my head.
Let me go check.
I don't know if he gets any sort of disadvantage for it being, like, right in his stomach.
Definitely, like, right in there. Let's see.
I think it's less than 16.
Ooh, it's 15. Oh.
Balls.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this thing, it just feels like it's too big. You see that a portion of its tongue kind of locks up right where you disperse the torpor, but the rest of it seems to be active and moving. Anything else?
Uh, nah. Okay, I got no bonus actions really, unless I can disengage. And just squirm my way out of his mouth.
Yeah, unfortunately, not while you're restrained.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, give me a charisma save. You hear this grizzled yell as Dagron rushes up to this thing, jumps up towards the mouth, and digs this dagger as deep in as he can. And you hear this awful squealing noise and the sound of ripping that becomes gargly and muted as everything inside of the gullet, fish and some other corpses, and you and some ghouls and a couple of myconids all come spilling out as this thing is basically unzipped from top to bottom.
Some violent coughing.
Yeah, Dagron reaches down and kind of picks you up in his arms, just like he did when he was holding you hostage, except this time with no blade to your neck, and starts running further away.
How romantic.
And it seems to go well for a moment. It's very loud. There's lots of splashing and kicking of water. But after a moment, the kicking and splashing is joined by several more of these frog noises. And as you kind of finish heaving and start looking around, you see another pair of these yellow eyes, and then another one, and another one, and 3 more, 6 more, 9 more. And all at once, this swarm of tentacles lashes out towards the two of you, and one grabs each of you and tries to pull you apart, and he does his best to hold on to you. And give me an athletics check. And give me a charisma save. Your grip starts to loosen a bit, but he reaches forward and grabs you around your shoulder with this massive, meaty paw. His claws kind of digging in. You can actually feel your forearm kind of slipping out of its socket as he starts to lose the grasp, but he reaches forward and tries to get you somewhere more stable, more firm. And you start to notice a different noise, something unusual, something that isn't from here. Uh, it's the sound of rumbling, like an earthquake or a tremor. Uh, it starts sort of all around you, but then it starts to focus above you. And what would you like to do? Your turn.
Uh, okay. I reach into the bag of holding. And I pull out the adamantine longsword that we took off the first Thane, and I give it to Dagron, and I let go.
All right. First, give me sleight of hand because you have to do all of that with one arm because he's got the other one. Yeah, you were able to reach in fairly easily, grab this thing out by the hilt, and slide it over to his free hand. He takes it in his hand, but he does not let go of you. Instead, he turns around and, as best as he can, he starts chopping at the one that's got him. You watch as ooh, actually, there's more damage because it's a longsword now. You watch as he just hacks into this tentacle that's got him once and then twice and then a third time and manages to chop himself free. And with that, he starts kind of pulling you closer to himself and positioning himself in a way that he can start working on your tentacle next. But then you watch as several of these pairs of eyes start closing in on you, and three more tentacles all reach out and grab around his ankles and another one around your midsection. And unless you are trying to not be taken, give me athletics. And give me a charisma save. His claws are digging into your shoulder. It is extremely painful. You're not sure how much more of it you can take. And you can feel yourself growing weaker as more and more of these things try to rip the two of you apart. But above you, the tremor starts to build into a rumble and then a quake. And all at once, the earth seems to tear itself open above you. And there is this rush of wind, like everything is being sucked out of this cavern. You watch as droplets of water are ripped out of the cavern and up into the night sky, miles towards the surface, it seems. And you feel this same force pulling at you and at the Thane, who's holding on to you. And effortlessly, this force seems to grab you and suck you away into the sky. And as quickly as you found yourself here, you find yourself floating in the stars. And you look around confused, and Dagron clings to you tight, equally confused. And you're not sure where you are or where you're going, but you notice again, you see the moon, which is full, and it seems to be watching you, and you realize it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and you are being pulled towards it. And then you see nothing. Everything goes black for a moment.
Do I still feel Dagron there?
When you finally come to, you don't feel him. In fact, you don't really feel anything, uh, except you feel stuck. And you feel upside down. You feel the blood has rushed to your head. You try to kind of look around and realize you can't move your eyes. Your eyes are open, but they're forced open. You can't blink. You can't close your eyelids. You don't feel yourself breathing, but you still feel like you have a body. You just can't look down and see it. But despite all of this, you feel oddly comfortable, almost peaceful. You don't feel the digging of claws in your skin. You don't feel tentacles or bite marks at your hip. Instead, looking straight ahead, you appear to be indoors, in some sort of library or art gallery. Again, you're upside down, so at first it looks like the ceiling, but you realize later it's the floor. It's this rich red hardwood. There are several expensive-looking rugs that adorn the floor. There are display tables that seem to show off marble busts and heavily ornamented weapons and jewelry. And past all of that, on the opposite wall, you see several tall, thin bookshelves. Some of them are stuffed to the brim with large, heavy books, but others seem to be almost barren. And in between all of these bookshelves are paintings. Most of them depict great bloody battles or heroes standing their ground against ferocious titanic beasts. And then you hear calm, even-paced footsteps approaching from the side. A valiant captain falls to a great leviathan protecting the woman he loves. A clever spy is finally outwitted by a Rakshasa guarding untold fortune. A daring paladin succumbs to the might and heat of a volcanic dragon trying to rescue her friend. A ferocious warlord falls in battle as his draconic lover rushes to the rescue. And an unconscious blade for hire is unceremoniously executed for no damned reason at all. And as he says those words, a man steps into view, upside down, looking up at you as if you were hanging on a wall. He appears to be a human male. He's neatly groomed, well dressed. He's got black hair that is slicked back. One of these things is not like the others. No, this won't do. Get out of there. You look ridiculous. And he waves his hand with a disappointed shake of his head, and you come tumbling out onto the floor beside him.
Yeah, I just flop. Do I have any of my memories back, or am I still like fucking like ignorant, scared kid?
You don't have any of your memories back currently, other than the ones that you had before. Everything still feels the same.
Cool.
As you look behind you, though, you do see a painting where you feel like you just were. You see this mammoth tumbling to the snow dust at Earth. There's a foggy, drizzling sky. There's a body of a wargfolk in heavy plate armor that is also mid-tumble. And beside your painting, you see a bookshelf that has maybe 8 or 9 books on it, but mostly empty. He looks down at you and says, "Listen, we had a deal. I lend you some power and you give me a story." And he looks over your shoulder at the bookcase.
What do you mean?
Oh, you don't remember, do you? I thought you were stronger than that. Here, and he reaches towards the bookshelf and he hands you the book that is farthest to the right. And he
I jump back and like put a hand on the hilt of my dagger.
Oh, that's adorable. You could try if you want. Listen, I'm here to help. He grabs this book and he opens it and thumbs through it, and he finds a blank page about halfway through the book. And he says, "Come on, your hand, just put it here."
Yeah, I'll take my hand off the hilt and do as he says.
As you do, your mind is flooded with visions and memory. You remember the face now. You remember all the faces. You remember all the names. You remember everything that ever mattered to you. You remember what you remembered before all of this happened. And you remember the name of this person by his voice. Executed as a hostage over what? A squabble over a scouting mission? Come on, you can do better than that. And there was nothing in the deal about this one, and he kind of like picks you up and helps stand you up and takes you over to the painting next to yours. And you see almost the exact same painting, except you're not in it, and the workfolk is farther towards the ground. More of his face is visible, and you see Dagron painted into this painting. He waves his hand, and he comes tumbling out of his painting to the floor. Without missing a beat, Timothy turns around, leaving you with Dagron, and heads over towards a table on a loft, maybe 25-30 feet away. Doesn't say anything. Dagron looks up at you, confused.
Timothy,
Yes, darling.
is this what you do with everyone? Just paintings on a wall.
I'm a collector, what can I say? But I collect stories and not your garbage novella amateur bullshit. Uh, as he says that, he starts to return, and you can see he's got a very large stein um, that is it's comically large for a human of his size. But he hands it to Dagron, and it seems appropriate. Dagron kind of sits up, tastes it. Oh, it's the halls of valor. Timothy kind of gives him this
Not
condescending smile and says, "Not quite," at the exact same time that you do. Please, have a seat. Wait, we'll return shortly. And he looks to you, extends a hand very graciously, and says, "Come with me."
Yeah, I'll follow.
He leads you down this room, past several more paintings and statues, to a hallway, and then out into another room. And at the far side of this room, there are some sheer fabric curtains that seem to lead to an open-air balcony. He leads you through the room and to them, and you find yourself looking out over a barren, rocky, colorless wasteland. It's cold and it's dry, and it's absolutely devoid of color. There isn't even the slightest lick of wind. And above you, there's a night sky more vivid than you've ever seen in your life. You see swarms of stars beaming and glistening. But looming in the sky where you'd expect to see the moon is something much bigger and bluer. I'm afraid you're dead. I'm sure you figured that out by now. And to make things worse, your body is here, which means getting you back to the material plane so that you can do a proper story is going to be a bit more difficult for your friends, your murderers, than a trip to the local cleric.
Then why is my body here?
Listen, you know how the blade works. If any of your allies touch the blade, I can try to communicate with them, but it doesn't matter. No matter what they do, I can't give your body back to them. It's a bit of a one-way trip. I'll spare you the details, unless you want to hear them, but it's a long story, and honestly, it's a bit embarrassing. However...
Well, clearly we have the time.
See... I'm allowed my secrets, aren't I? Listen, though, I have experience dealing with souls. We have some options. I'm no god, but I'm close enough.
Humble as always.
He gives a gracious bow and a twirl of his hand. I can return your soul to the place where I found it. Deep, deep underground in the river Styx, surrounded by whatever the fuck those things were. And if I do that, I can also send your body down there with your soul.
Took your sweet time with that, didn't you?
I was trying. You were being a little frantic, and besides, I wasn't close enough to your body to connect until your friends brought it through the portal. Smart choice on their point. But the thing is, your body will remain dead down there, and your soul will have to deal with all the shit that you saw down there until your friends manage to locate you, reach you, kill everything in there, recover with your corpse, and escape to the top with it. To make things even more complicated, there are a lot of things down there that would do terrible things for control over just your soul. Getting your soul and your body in a 2-for-1 package, it's a dream come true for some of the horrors that haunt the underworld. You would be a very tasty treat, you'd have a target on your back, and if some foul demon claims you, or your corpse is turned into undead, your story's over. There's no coming back from that. So, plan A, little risky. Not my first choice. Plan B. I can return your soul to the sword. Not your body, just your soul. You'll be bound to wander the ethereal plane as, it's not a pretty word, but a ghost, until you find another body to inhabit. At which point you'll become, well, you know your snake friend?
Yeah.
So you'll continue on in this sort of ugly mockery of life until your story is complete. And I'm not talking like dying warm in the comfort of your bed at the grand old age of 100. What I mean is you'll have a few years to finish your business in Fortuna, travel home, find your bitch mother, and kill her. You're not going to live out the rest of your days as a pirate king, you're not going to start any revolutions, and you certainly won't go down in history. You'll also be borrowing someone else's body, which means your body and everything it was carrying and emotions to you stays here. Your mind will stay the same, but unless you manage to find a dead changeling's body with no soul to inhabit, I imagine it'll be quite a change of scenery for you.
What's Plan C?
Oh, there is no plan C. I mean, well, there is one final option. And normally I wouldn't even bring it up, but you're just such a lovely person. See, you've dragged 2 souls into this place, but I only have a claim to 1. Dag's soul was willing to join you, given the alternative being meat for whatever the fuck those were, but I don't have any rights to it, and I don't have any way to get it out of here. If his god comes looking for him, I'm in a bit of a pickle, especially if it's Indus. I don't want anything to do with that. The problem, though, is I can't trick him into staying here. It's kind of against the rules. You, on the other hand, are free to do as you wish. And if somehow you were maybe able to convince our good friend Dag to stay here in your stead, then I could deliver you to his god, whoever that is, body and all. That god might not be particularly happy with you or with me, but as long as we're playing by the rules, they can't do much to you without pissing off Zune, and nobody wants to piss off Zune, except for, well, Solani. They'd also be obligated to transfer your body and your soul to the god of your choice. It's just part of the rules. Now, that does mean that your new friend stays here with me forever. Not that I'm complaining, he's got a lovely story, really. He'd make a wonderful addition to my collection, but can you really live with yourself?
I just give him like a really.
That's what I thought. But anyway, you know the rules. I can't interfere. It's all up to you. I'm gonna go wait in the library and see if any of your friends are stupid enough to touch the sword. Anything you
So
want me
where
to
the
tell them?
fuck are we, by the way? Just like, is this in the sword? Are we on the moon?
The sword is down there, and he points towards the planet on the horizon. We are on the moon.
Great. Can I talk to them through the sword?
Oh, no, that would be far too easy. I'd be happy to transcribe for you if you'd like. Pass messages along.
Can I insight check them?
Sure.
Fuck. It's still 21.
That is a 21. Let me see what he's got. Oh, he's actually not as good at this as I thought. Let's find out. He actually does appear to be telling the truth here.
Fine. Doesn't matter anyways. Let's go with option A. I like my body. Make things a lot more difficult if I don't have it.
Option A. Well, I can do it whenever you're ready. Like I said, you're going to be down there alone. You might want to tell your friends to meet you there, perhaps. We can facilitate some sort of rescue mission. I'd hate to see your story end even more pathetically than it just did.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Don't worry, I'll be sure to get that bat for that.
Ooh, he's lovely, by the way. I could certainly make use of his magic.
To know, what did you do with Thunder Jackass?
Oh, did you not see it? Uh, he kind of pulls you back inside and points to a couple of paintings down from yours, where you see this picture of Thunder Jackass fighting giant pigeons.
I love your decorating.
Right? So much flavor, so much flair, so much drama in one room. Reminds me of home.
I need a drink.
Of course, help yourself. I do have to warn you, I'm really not comfortable having people walking the building while I'm asleep. I like you, and I don't want you to stay here, so you're welcome to roam for a bit, but, in a few hours, I'm gonna have to put
Those
you in the painting.
those aren't typically one and the same, but sure.
He does take you back in, and fetches you a wine glass that is more fitting for your size, and pours you some wine.
Ugh. Just make sure that those idiots know what I'm doing, what to do.
Of course. Once I make contact with them, I may fetch you so that you can, well, I'll leave the planning up to you two, because quite frankly, I don't know exactly where you were either. You might have to, you might have to feed them some information.
Got it.
With that, he heads off into another room and closes the door behind himself.
I take a big swig of whatever shit he gave me, and then I start rifling through everything.
Give me an investigation. So as you start investigating, there's a lot of really cool shit in here. You find, uh, basically, it's an arrangement, it's a hallway where there is a portrait of the person, a bookshelf with the story of their life up until their death, that is written very embellished. As you kind of compare some of yours, you can, it's, it's exaggerated a little bit. It is clearly, there's been a little bit of stretching the truth going on in these books. But all the same, it's an entertaining read. It seems to be a quality read. And then next to each one of these things, there are also the display case, which has valuable items that the person was wearing. And you actually do find your daggers, a little bit of your armor, and I can't remember if you have anything exceptionally cool in your inventory. But if you did, it is there now, and rather than in your bags.
Cool.
Um, do you, as you're doing all this, Dagron kind of joins, and he goes over to his bookshelf, and like, oh,
Yeah, wouldn't do that, mate.
he starts reading through. It's like, this is a wonderful story. Whoever wrote it, it's a little creepy, but they know my full name. They call me by Dag. That's very friendly. They even know about Vixana and huh. And he starts reading a little more intently. Up at the end of
Hey,
this hall. Or yeah, good.
hey, which god do you worship? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, Indus, of course.
Good to know. Uh, so I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this isn't the Hall of Valor. It was a bit of a mix-up.
Uh, what do you mean? We were carried on the river Styx. and we got sorted, and I've been sent to the
No,
halls of valor.
no. See, before we got sorted, you remember the big, horrible tentacle beasts? That's not supposed to happen, I don't think.
Oh yeah, that I hadn't heard anything about that. I think you may be right. Then where
So,
are we?
uh, a friend of mine's place. I kind of owe him my soul, sort of. I don't remember agreeing to that, but apparently I did.
You
Uh,
hear
and
a voice in your head. Uh, oh no, I don't own your soul. In fact, I'm trying to get you out of here. See, I have a claim to one soul when you die, but this is just boring, and I don't own his soul at all. Dagron doesn't seem to hear this and looks a little confused as you stop and listen for a moment.
I just shake my head. Anyways, uh, how would you like to just hang out here for a little bit? Just until things get sorted, down there.
How long?
Otherwise, you have to kind of go back there, and good luck.
How long is a bit?
No idea. Hopefully soon, but because frankly, I'm stuck here as long as you are, pretty much. Um,
He walks over, kind of bends down to your eye level, and whispers, "Your friend, can I trust him?" And you hear a voice in your head that says, "Oh no."
yeah, probably.
This is why you're my favorite. Give me deception. Very well. The ale is okay. It's comfortable. Hopefully he's got some women around here somewhere. I can wait a short time, I suppose. It's another adventure. The skalds will sing of it when I get there.
Um, what do you like?
Beg pardon.
You said you wanted women. What do you like?
That's... Hmm. Well, it's a little personal, I suppose.
We got a lot of time. Well, you do. I have to go back in there soon. I just gesture to the painting.
You know, I would have said, ugh, never mind. I like women. Women are fine. Wargfolk women are wonderful.
I'm gonna silent image a couple of workbook women and kind of like cycle through.
Yeah, you kind of like show him his options. Uh, Give me insight. He seems vaguely interested, and eventually he kind of stops on one and says, "Oh yes, she'll do." Are you part of this? And he like looks around at the room.
Not naturally, but I, I'm bored, and quite frankly, I got a lot to think about. So yeah, give me a minute. I'll fetch her. I go out and I shapeshift into that one. Come back.
Excellent. You are able to shapeshift when you step around the corner.
Sick.
You hear a voice.
Kind of
Oh,
figured now that I have my body.
yeah. You hear a voice. Oh my God, you are filthy. This would be so much easier if you'd stay. Are you sure you don't want to? Oh no, you can't stay. It's no good. All
I
right.
figured I owed you a show. Don't watch for too long. It's gross.
It's what I do. I'm the Watcher. It's why I got kicked out.
Down to what?
No, nothing. Go on, don't keep the man waiting.
Yeah, I go out and I make sure that it takes a real long time because I don't want to go back in that painting.
Give me give me the sex skill of your choice, and then give me insight. Good, good.
Damn it. It's 28 still.
It is 28. That's pretty fucking angelic. So you start getting to work, and after a while he kind of he takes over because that's what he does. And about the time that he takes over is the time you realize that you were able to see out of your painting. And it makes this all just a tiny bit awkward. But all the same, he finishes up, and it's a very good time. And as he's kind of, panting and catching his breath, he's like, "Oh, they do fuck like angels. Fuck the Hall of Valor."
Wait, So am I seeing through the painting and my own eyes?
No, but
Or do I get like...
when you were trapped in the painting, you were able to see out of the painting, and you get the sneaking suspicion that all of these paintings on the wall can kind of see what's going on.
Oh,
here.
yeah, I'm well aware.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I figured they've been bored too, so...
All right. About this time, he calls back and says, "Oh, good. Your idiot friends are finally touching the sword. Come on, then. Let's go talk."
Christ, about fucking time.
As you, still in your shapeshift, start to excuse yourself, he starts to kind of clean himself off, and then he looks over at the painting, and you see that the realization comes across his face as well. And he kind of like scurries up to where the drink bar is and grabs his mug and disappears for a little bit as you...
Oh, don't be like that.
But yeah, you follow the door that he went through to go out towards the library, and sure enough, you find him after a while, just sitting in this very plush red leather chair and in front of a fireplace, smoking a cigar that smells very heavily of sort of this rich, sweet smell. And he says, "All right, what would you like to tell them?"
Well, I'm dead. And pissed. And I really need them to do one simple thing for me. I know that's very difficult for them to follow literally anything that I say, but in this one instance, I really, really need them to just go down to Styx. There's a large pit that's been dammed up, and if you go south, there's a tunnel. And in that tunnel, there's a bunch of horrible beasts, and I need them to be killed. And it would just... And I'd like you to mention to them that if they don't do this for me, I'll be coming back, like Sal, essentially unkillable, really pissed off.
You've got a knack for this. I knew there was a reason I chose you. And he turns around in his chair and repeats it back telepathically. And we will pick that up with the rest of the gang.
Okay. Fuck. That's not what I was expecting from any of this.
Uh-huh.
That's really cool.
I was hoping that would be fun.
Fuck this guy, though. I'm not ending up as a painting for the rest of eternity.
I love Timothy. Oh, he's so good. He's such an asshole.
So creepy. I say, having just like fucked a random dude in front of all the paintings.
So that you could, trick him into staying here, where he might be a painting for a long time.
Oh no, I have my own plans for that shit.
Excellent. I'm curious. I get the feeling you don't want to leave
I-
him here forever, but
Not particularly. Like, okay, me, the player, doesn't want to leave him. Trace is kind of but the thing is that I know that Dagron worships Indris, and Watcher doesn't like Indus. And Watcher has told me that if dude doesn't leave, Indus might come back and be real pissed at Watcher. And that would be great for me. Because if Indus is pissed and I can get Indus on my side, then I don't have to be a painting for eternity. So that's where that train of thought is going.
Excellent.
So yeah.
All right, cool. I noted down all of that. I will pass it to him on Thursday, and I'll probably just have you talk back and forth with him because he'll just be your middleman for a short time.
Cool.
But I'll start out talking to them,
Oh yeah,
so that they can incite the fuck out of him and not know for sure that it's him or you and not him. Just because I want to play with them a little bit. But yeah.
Yeah, 100% group. Because we're going for the long option, I guess I'll make my extra character.
Yeah. Probably have something ready to go for a couple sessions because they've got to travel to the sticks and get down there and find this pit and all that fun stuff. So.
Is there anything any sort of character that would be easy for you to kind of throw in and implement?
So almost
like a cleric or something.
Almost anything will work. The clergy here is aware of what you've told them about Zalani. So if you pick anyone in the clergy or anyone related to the clergy, it would give them a reason to know this group and also possibly give them a quest hook to get them down to the sticks faster too. But a mercenary would work just as well, especially if that mercenary has any sort of travel experience or has spent any time on the docks or is familiar with local lore. Almost anything will work. So don't worry too much about it.
Okay. Then yeah, I'll probably try and come up with somebody that's like a member of the clergy or something.
Cool. Sounds good.
Should we bring Frisk back in?
Yeah, it's probably about that time. Oh, hi.
What the? Hi.
Hi, Felicia.
Hi.
How guilty do you feel now?
I don't know.
Oh, you may want to switch the.
Ooh, right. I should do that. I should definitely do that.
Before somebody
Whoops.
sees and is like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, that's
Switch to what now?
Let me go and archive that before I forget.
Yay.
All right, cool. We're safe.